We have some breaking news coming in at this point. Russia has decided to declare a ceasefire in Ukraine from 6 GMT. Again, Russia has decided to declare a ceasefire in Ukraine from 6 GMT. Now, this is according to reports by Russian media agency Sputnik. During the second round of talks, Russian and Ukrainian officials and the delegation agreed upon creating humanitarian corridors for the evacuation of civilians. The second round of talks were held in Belarus. Once again, this is breaking news coming in at this point. Russia has decided to declare a ceasefire in Ukraine from 6 GMT. Russia has declared a ceasefire in Ukraine from 6 GMT. This is according to reports by Russian media agency Sputnik. During the second round of talks, Russian and Ukrainian delegation agreed upon creating humanitarian corridors for the evacuation of civilians. The second round of talks were held in Belarus. If you're just joining us, you are watching WION, and this is breaking news coming in on the situation in Ukraine. And Russia has decided, once again, to declare a ceasefire in Ukraine from 6 GMT. This is according to reports by Russian media agency Sputnik. During the second round of talks, Russian and Ukrainian delegation agreed on creating a humanitarian corridor for the evacuation of civilians. They are calling it the Green Corridor. Now, the second round of talks were held in Belarus, and according to the media agency Sputnik, Russia has declared a ceasefire in Ukraine at 6 GMT. This is some good news coming in from these talks between Russia and Ukraine. The talks between the two delegations from Ukraine and Russia entered their second round of talks this week or today in Belarus, and it is being reported that Russia has declared a ceasefire in Ukraine at 6 GMT, and we are still trying to find out or get more reports on what was agreed upon during these talks between the Ukrainian and Russian delegation in Belarus. But at this moment, Russia has declared a ceasefire in Ukraine at 6 GMT.
С Донецкой Народной Республикой и Луганской Народной Республикой мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются со стороны киевского режима. Пожалуйста. Прошу вас. Спасибо большое. Уважаемые коллеги, добрый день. Мы собрались с вами для того, чтобы обсудить ситуацию, которая складывается сегодня на Донбассе. Я в двух словах напомню о том, что там изначально происходит, как ситуация складывалась. Хотя вы это все и так прекрасно. Этот переворот, напомню, что он был антиконституционный и кровавый, потому что в ходе этих это действительно вооруженный переворот. С этим, собственно говоря, никто и не спорит. Часть, повторяю, граждан, тех, которые проживали и проживают сегодня на Донбассе, киевских властей, людей проживают.
Joining us live now is Anas Malik. He's still in the city of Lviv. Anas, welcome back. We are receiving breaking news that there's a ceasefire that has been declared by Russia. Do you have any information on that?
Well, as we speak, this has been reported in the Russian media that a ceasefire has been agreed upon in the second round of talks that were held in Belarus, and that's what they are saying, that the ceasefire has come into effect starting 8 a.m. Ukraine time, and that's about since the past 46 or 47 minutes. That's what they claim. As we talk, there is no independent confirmation on the matter as we speak, whereas we expect the Ukrainian government or Ukrainian outlets to come up with a statement in a while from now. But in case if this is true, this is a major sigh of relief for the residents of Kiev, for Mariupol, for Kharkiv, for Sumy and associated areas that have been under intense Russian attack, intense Russian invasion and shelling since the past 10 days or so. We've seen a lot of civilian casualties. We've seen a lot of civilian areas being damaged as well. So this ceasefire can possibly be can be taken in light of that, giving access to civilians to evacuate these areas by utilizing this opportunity. Eric?
Well, we are receiving reports from the Russian Defense Ministry that the ceasefire is to let Mariupol residents evacuate. Again, this is information from the Russian Defense Ministry. They have declared a ceasefire in Mariupol to allow residents there to evacuate. How important is this evacuation process, Anas Malik? Because as we can see, we've seen reports in the past that the evacuation process in some of these regions, including Mariupol and the capital, Kyiv, are very important at this time. But how is it, or why is it important for a country like Russia to declare a ceasefire at this moment?
Well, at this point of time, there has been a lot of resistance that the Russian forces have seen, especially in the city of Mariupol, and this resistance has been that of from the citizens. Now, presumably, and I have to choose my words very carefully, that presumably the Russian side does not want any more civilian casualties. The reason they have declared this ceasefire, so that it can it would be having two advantages to its effect. One, the citizens who are resisting can leave or have the opportunity to leave, so that the Russian forces, as and when they advance, they would have a free path. That is number one. And number two, in case if there is a civilian casualty, Russia still has a fallback mechanism to say that, well, we had told you that there was a ceasefire. It was your own mistake to not leave. You had ample amount of time. That's what they can possibly claim. So therefore, this ceasefire, especially in the city of Mariupol, which is strategically important as well, therefore it is absolutely imperative, and it suits the Russian side to bolster up their image, to have something to talk about with the international community in case if the situation escalates. Eric?
Let's talk about that situation to talk about the refugee crisis in Europe. It poses a risk. It poses a risk to this continent. You have reported on the border, or at the border of Poland. Probably you can tell our viewers how dire this situation is.
Well, the situation is extremely dire, Eric, for one reason. Europe has never seen in the past 3 or 4 decades a refugee influx of this sort. Europe has never seen a crisis of this sort in the past few decades, and that is the reason which aggravates the situation, because the Europeans are not equipped to handle such a situation, be that be the refugee influx, be that be the handling of the personnel at the border, be that be the situation that the Ukrainians are in current. So by and large, that is the reason we're seeing that long and long queues, about 5 to 7 kilometers long, at the Medica crossing or at the Karachova crossing as well, that the border of Ukraine and Poland, which is the border of Ukraine and Poland, because as I said, there is no mechanism per se that one would be allowed in a blanket manner to cross over. There are checks that are in place. There are SOPs that are to be followed. in usual circumstances, these SOPs would just take a minute or two, but these are unprecedented times. These are not usual times. Therefore, longer queues, longer waiting, and thousands and thousands of people piling up. And the reason people are, those from Ukraine, they are looking this as a window of opportunity to leave their country, to flee to safety, not because they do not love their country, but because they have loved ones to take care of. For instance, I will tell you, when I was crossing a day before yesterday, I met a family, the woman, she had a 5-year-old with her, who she had managed to cross with to safety into Poland, but she had left her 70-year-old mother behind here in Ukraine for the fact that the 70-year-old mother could not be kept waiting in the car for so long, or she could not walk this long as well. When I say she could not walk this long, that means at least 5 or maybe 7 kilometers long. So therefore, there's a gut-wrenching emotion that's there as well. As I said, Europe has never seen this. They're not equipped. They're trying to make amends, but it will take time, and the situation is evolving day by day, or rather hour by hour, Eric.
Let's talk about where you are right now, because there has been a lot of focus on the city of Lviv. Why is this city so significant in Ukraine?
Well, it's the western city. It's not where the conflict is right now. The conflict is towards the north, center north, and northeast, in Kiev, and towards Mariupol, towards Kharkiv, towards the areas that border towards Russia or Belarus, and not towards the areas that border towards the European side, that is Hungary, Romania, Slovakia, or Poland for that matter. Therefore, and this city, the city of Lviv, where I'm standing, it's serving as a transit route or a transit hub or a transit city for the people of Poland, because it adjoins with 2 borders of Poland. So for the people of Ukraine, in order to flee to safety from Ukraine into Poland, they will have to get to Lviv, and then from onwards they decide that they go to Karachova, the Karachova crossing, or they go to the Medica crossing. The Medica crossing enables people to go via foot as well. The Karachova crossing enables people to go only via their cars. So that is why this city becomes all more important, because A, it's away from the conflict area, B, it's closer to the European borders, C, it's relatively safer. Eric?
Well, this is the latest update from the Russian Defense Ministry. Russia has announced a ceasefire to let Mariupol residents evacuate at this moment, or they've announced the ceasefire to happen at 6 GMT. Again, the Russian Defense Ministry has announced a ceasefire to let Mariupol residents evacuate. And we've been talking to our correspondent who is live in Lviv, the city of Lviv in Ukraine. Anas Malik, thank you very much for your updates and for talking to us today. You are watching WION The World is One.